So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to do. And this is going to be a monthly class that's free for everybody to come and join. We are recording it, so we've got it to watch back if anybody feels they missed something or you want to paint along at another point in time. So we're going to be doing that. I'm actually here in the highlight studio. At the moment, I'm being joined by Amanda and David. They're the two pupils here in the studio with us so that we can actually check how we're doing and whether the way I'm teaching you on a Zoom class is actually as good as teaching you face to face. So that's a big thing for us today, but I have been practicing, so I think we'll be okay. So a couple of things I want to share with you. First of all, today we're going to paint a number of different things. I'm not sure at this moment in time how many of you have actually got painting pages. But I am going to go on to one of these at the beginning and show you how to use them. We're going to do a big session on brush loading, what goes wrong, how to put it right, because it's a bit like using a fountain pen. You can have the best handwriting in the world, but if there's no ink in the pen, it isn't going to work out. So we've got the same thing with our brush loading. So that's number one. The second thing that I want to do is I'm going to get you doing these wiggles. This is going to be our monthly exercise class as well as our painting class. So I'm going to we'll make sure that everybody's in a good place with those. I want to teach you this fern leaf. And then over this session and next session, we're going to be working towards doing these beautiful flowers. So I'm going to be working with you, and I'm just going to lift this up so you can see it in a bit more detail. But I want us to learn the centers that we've got here and also learn this lovely rose and the depth and the detail that we've got there. I've also prepared some ivy leaves because I want you to see what we've got to look forward to. And these are some of the designs that we're going to be doing, adding to that. And I'm going to take you on a journey from doing this scallop shape that we've got here to having more brush control where we take a scallop from a combination of different shapes, but it still stays smooth and we're highlighting and shading at the same time, all the way through right to having our finished flower. And when we get to this finished flower, in a couple of months' time, the objective exercise is that we can take something out of our garden and we can paint that. In between that, I'm going to be teaching some little cute critters. That was a mouthful. And I'm going to be showing you all the different brush strokes. So as you go along, you can be painting at your leisure at home. The other thing that I'm going to do for you is for anybody that actually will photograph their work and send it to me by email, I will write comments on that email and send it back to you. So I'll give you the details of my email at the end of the program, but get a pen and paper ready. And that's available for you because I'm on a mission. Let's get everybody painting. So to start with, let's talk about the paint itself. Well, I started off working with a product called Folk Art. And in between that, I've worked with Deco Art. I've worked with Winsor & Newton and De La Rowney brands. But I came across Cadence a couple of years ago. And it's a Turkish brand that's manufactured by a small family, but they absolutely get paint. And the thing that's impressed me the most about this is the quality of the pigment. So I'm going to work on black so you can really see how good it is. But the other thing about this is, although it is wash down the sinkable, so it's environmentally friendly, I try not to do that with my paints because a lot of us have got plastic components in our drain system, and acrylic is notorious for sticking to some plastics. So the way that I work is take a piece of waste packaging, pop a piece of card into it. Then when I've finished my painting, I'm going to lift this off, roll it up, and it's going to go in the dustbin. So if you're somebody who doesn't have waste packaging around, although it is, there's plenty of it about, put a piece of cling film over a plate, and then when you've finished, you can take that off and it can just go straight into the dustbin. So when we come to cleaning our brushes, and this is really important, everybody. So cleaning your brush is one of the most important things about painting. And what happens if we don't clean our brush? Well, first of all, the paints are going to actually stain the bristles a little bit. That's okay. And you can see this one's stained here. But when you get paint inside the actual bristles of the brush, and it's right in there and it's gone hard, what happens is it makes that edge of the brush all fluffy. So instead of it being like this, which is a really sharp chisel edge, we end up with the inside all fluffed out. And there's no way we're going to get really nice sharp strokes with that. So that's something that we need to work on as we're actually painting. So let's get cracking. We're going to start off with a green and a white. So the first one that I'm working with is called leaf green. And you need a piece on your page that's about the size of a 2p piece, quite generous in thickness, but you don't want to spread it out. The more we can keep it domed, the fresher the middle of the paint stays, and this should be still workable for about an hour, hour and a half, depending on the room temperature. Now, get asked, do you need to shake the bottles? There are some colours where the liquid, which is the main plastic in the actual paint, which is clear, sometimes separates from the pigment. Just turn the bottle upside down a couple of times. You don't need to give it a real vigorous shake, but turn it up a few times. Be careful when you do, because what can happen is, and you can see all this white paint round here, I did this at the weekend. I gave it a really, really good shake. And it actually, because it was warm and it had been in a warm room, quite a lot of the paint came out. So just a word of warning, because this stuff does not come out your clothes. Okay, so we're going to put a little puddle of the white down. So I've got my green and my white there. Both of those colours are ready for us to paint with. Oh, and by the way, everybody, I'm going to be painting this pot as part of this session, and we'll do a giveaway. So just put your comments on the comment list and I'll pick a number, and whoever's that comment is, we'll actually do a giveaway. Right, so I've got a number 18 brush here. Now, you saw me dip it in the water to bring those bristles together, and it's still a little bit damp. And I'm going to show you what goes wrong if we work with a damp brush, because this will not help us paint. But if you understand it, you won't do it more than once or twice before you start to put it right. So when I'm loading it, I've picked up a little bit of the white and a little bit of the green, and I'm just working the brush backwards and forwards. But I'm just going to get a tiny bit more water to speed up this process. But what will happen is very gradually the colour starts to become one. Even when you don't think, and can you see how this white and green are just bleeding together now? That is because we have got that water in the brush. So how do we deal with it? Well, first of all, you can squeeze it between a piece of kitchen paper. And then I just like to press the bristles down. So I'm just going to take that off the ferrule, the metal edge. Press it down, and you will see if there's any water still in this top edge, because that's normally where the bristles hold the most. So to load it, we dip one side of the brush into the white paint, and we want a triangle of colour on both sides of the brush. Now, you'll notice I'm taking it gently from side to side. I'm not doing this, because if I do that to pick up my paint, look at how I've distorted the bristles. And that's not the effect we want. So I'm just going to get them back so that I've got them back where I need them. Get the white paint there, the green there. Don't worry if it overlaps a little bit in the middle, because that's where you're going to get the lovely blend in. And then we stroke the brush. Now, the most common mistake here is that people stay up on the brush bristles and you're flicking it backwards and forwards. Again, what happens is that colour will start to bleed from one shade to another. You can see how that green's already migrated. So the correct way to do this is, and I'm now going to come into another patch because I want to keep this clean, just stroke it, but apply a little bit of pressure. So you can see there, look, I'm going slowly now, so you can see how that is being pushed together. This is interesting though, because I can see some water in there. Can you see that? When I'm pressing the brush up and down. So although I thought I'd taken all the water out, I actually haven't. So I'm going to go back onto my paper towel, just get that water out, because if I don't, I do know that this will go what we call muddy within just a few minutes. So we do this a couple of times because what I want to feel is a lovely creamy finish. So I can go over the same part that I'm working with, but look at the pressure I've got and how I've just drawn that paint all the way up the brush, and it's now got a lovely colour. It's going from one side to the other. And then we're going to come on to our surface. So with this, I want you to keep your hand off the table. If we're up a wall and you've got to reach over there, you're going to fall off your ladder. So keep your hand off the table. This action's going to come from your shoulder and your elbow as well as your wrist. And we're going to use all of these across the brush strokes that we do. If you feel you need to steady your hand, which sometimes we do, we're going to support ourselves with our little finger. So that little finger can go down, and if you've got a shaky hand, or, you know, perhaps like me, you've had one too many gins occasionally, then this is what we do. So now the bristles are going to go straight on top of there. I'm not applying any pressure, but I'm now going to lean them towards my wrist. Now, if you are left-handed, you're going to do exactly the same thing, but in reverse. And now we're just going to keep the pressure on and wiggle that brush. And as we wiggle, you'll see that you're getting this lovely colour combination of the green going up to that lovely soft shade. And what we want to practice is keeping that so that the top and the bottom are parallel. So you'll feel it run out of paint. And as you get towards it running out of paint, it starts to feel scratchy. And then when you look at your bristles, you'll see that you've taken off all the paint. So we now need to go back and put some more on. So I come back into here, into the white, the way I just did, back into my green, and I can still come back into this little spot, and I can do this until it starts to go sticky because the paint is air drying. So I'm going to keep going like this. Now, if I can just draw your attention to this puddle over here, that is what would be happening inside your brush if you had water in it. So avoid getting the water, keep the colours nice and clean, and you'll be able to paint. So let's do this a couple of times, everybody. Up on the chisel edge, and I'm just going to talk you through it. Make sure your brushes are loaded really nicely. The green is separate. Up on the chisel edge, press down, and just wiggle. And it's my hand that's moving. I'm not doing this with the brush. Watch the top of the brush, everybody. I am just wiggling my hand. And I can do little wiggles or in the other direction and do bigger wiggles. Okay, right, David and Amanda, come on, let's see what you're doing. Okay, everybody, so we're going to do this for a couple of minutes, and I'm just going to get the next step ready for you to be able to paint. So I'm going back into my paint. If the volume's too loud or you don't want to listen to me talking, just turn it off. And once we've got, and your painting palette should stay with really short strokes on it. If you are doing great long, low brush loading, you're taking your paint off as you're putting it on. So light colour at the top, press down and just wiggle that brush. Then once you get to the end, and you should be able to paint, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a good 5 centimetres, turn your brush over, put the dark colour at the top, and I want you to feel like what it feels like when it really starts to run out of paint, because it's pulling that paint reserve right from inside the bristles. And that brush is pretty dry now, but I've been able to actually paint in both directions. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, and I hope I'm not going too fast for everybody, but the next thing that I'd like you to do is imagine in your head this. And I'm going to draw it out for you. So you've got a V shape like that, just like that, and there's a little, that's the bottom of the V. So if I just draw that for you, it's like that, okay? So I'm now going to start here and I'm going to wiggle. And I'm just going to wiggle until I get to that line, and then I'm going to lift the brush up and just lift it off. So a V and a little dot, and we're going to get to here and we're just going to wiggle. And when I get to that line, I'm just going to lift it off. Okay. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Make sure that your paint doesn't feel like it's running out. And I still want you to be able to see from white to green across your brush. So I'm just going to check the brushes of the people in the studio. So making sure they've got enough paint on there. David, shorten the where you're loading. So at the moment, David is loading like this. He's got a long stripe. David, it's just like this. It's much longer than mine. So by the time he's got to here, he's actually used half his paint. He's painting the palette. David.
I'm doing it shorter now. We've got a shorter amount.
Right, he's doing it shorter now.
Yeah,
Look, watch Amanda. Amanda's is perfect. Right, okay, so we've now got the white at the top and the green at the bottom. So let's get this here, and I'm going to do the same. So there's our green, like that. Okay, do the same thing. Our green is there. Okay, now, if I take you to this sheet, which was the one I mentioned, what you'll notice on here is I'm wiggling, but I'm just wiggling up and down and up and down, and then just sliding my brush off. So I'm going wiggle, wiggle. Just do it like you were with that straight line, only here I'm letting it undulate. So I'm going up and wiggling, and then when I get to this point, I'm turning the brush and letting the green go off first. So let's try that on this piece of card. So if you have got a question at the moment and you want to type it in the chat, I can be answering them as we go along, if that helps anybody. So here we go. So I'm going to do that. So we did that wiggle there. So let's look at that. We get round to the bottom of that scallop, and I'm just going to turn the green towards the door. Oh, bad, 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 bad. That actually is what you don't want to do. You've got there, my brush loading's not good. So that needs some more paint. I actually need to make sure I've got plenty of paint on there. Okay, let's have another go. So, oh, didn't load it properly. There we go. So we're doing that scallop, turn and slide to the door. Do again and turn and slide there. Turn and slide there. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to extend these little lines. And I've got a little gap that's appearing at the same point on each one of them. I think I've probably got a couple of bristles that are crossed in the middle here. So I'm just going to check that out. So I've gone into my pot of clean water, and I am just literally squeezing the paint out. And I can see that is what's happened, because if you look here, you can just see how those bristles are not quite lined up. So I'm just going to make sure that I get that a little bit cleaner, and then see that I've just got those bristles. It's in there that it's happened, probably where I pulled it apart. And it doesn't matter that your water is dirty, because one of the things that I like to do when I'm painting is I like to take the colour from my brush and take that colour so that it actually goes through the whole picture. So it looks like it's more natural and more harmonious. Okay, so let's see how everybody's doing. Here, David's, right, so I'm going to show you what we've got in the studio. So these are David's scallops. Good brush loading up here. You can see where it started to run out there. These are nice. He's turning and leading off with the green. So this has got real potential. Great job, David. Amanda, you're the same. You're working really well too. Got here, nice, clean, crisp work. Actually, you can see that these are tailing off. This is where you're taking the pressure off a little bit. If your work looks like this, keep the pressure on, because as you lift it, the bristles come together. That gets a little bit smaller. Here, nice work. You got to the edge of that V and you lift off. Here, you're turning towards and coming off. Nice work. Okay. So I'm just going to do that once more. If anybody else has got anything that's happening to theirs, then please take your pictures, send them to me. Okay, right. So for anybody who's right-handed and struggling with a practice sheet, turn it upside down and work the other way. Okay? So all we need to do is, so instead of me working this way, I'm going to turn it upside down and I'm going to work that way and then that way. Okay? Sorry, I beg your pardon. I should have said that right at the beginning. Anybody else got any problems at the moment? Right. Okay, so here we go. So let's go back, reloading that green. Now, this is, oh my God, do you know what? This is like the first glass of wine after a long day. When you treat yourself to new brush loading, look at now how my bristles are just beautiful. And I'm going to show you what a difference this will make, because I'm going to repeat that stroke. And we saw how fluffy it was here and it didn't look good. So let's go. There's my wiggle. I can already see the bristles are smoother, cleaner, and they are just going to slide. Actually, still got a little bit in there, not enough paint. We're nearly there. Let's get that in. But this is good for you to see, because you're seeing how to put things right if they go wrong. I'm working on just a black cartridge paper, but you work on whatever you've got. It doesn't have to be black. I'm using black because you guys can see it on camera. And just also to let you know, that is still not wanting to go. Oh, look, can you see how it's separated there? That is what is causing that look. I'm just going to do this once more. And if not, I'm just going to change this brush because I don't want to waste time with you guys, but I need you to understand what has gone wrong and why. So let me just have one more go with it. So let's just go there. Now, it's better, but it's still not good enough. It's not as good. It's not good enough for you guys who are watching at home. I need this perfect for you. Right, so I've got another brush here. What I'll do with that one, just so that you know, it's not gone to the brush place in the sky. It will get a proper wash. And when I wash it, I will use a toothbrush to just comb the bristles to make sure that they're all in the right direction. This one automatically feels better. So we can see we're getting a much, much nicer stroke. Let's just try that one more time and slide and come off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're there now. Right, so what do we do next? The next part of it is this other V. So we're going to take a V And actually, it looks like, I'm just going to get a bit more paint so you can see it. It looks like a pyramid, because this time we're actually going to paint upside down. But there is nothing wrong when you are first learning with turning your work. Do whatever gives you the confidence to be able to paint. So you've got the chance to practice this. So let's do that V again. So there's the V and there's that little pivot point. I'm on the bristles and the bristles are pressed down. I'm wiggling my brush, and then when I get to this edge, I'm just lifting it up and coming off. So you get there. I'm not getting to there and coming off because you'll get a blob. I'm literally going round to that edge and then lifting. Ran out of paint. If you're getting holes anywhere in your work, anywhere, your paint is running out in your brush. Come back into your painting guide and you can see now we've got that watery patch that we had. This one is already dry. This one's going to be sticky as anything. So I've got choices. I can either go somewhere fresh or I can work over the dried patch. So there you can see I've just gone over that patch and made sure that, and just put it down to get some pressure on it, and it's good to go. So that little V would look like this if it was on the bottom of the design. Now I'm using a number 14. I had an 18 earlier. David's got a 14 and Amanda's got a 16. So we are working with different sizes. And the secret, when you get to here, just turn it and let the green touch the leaf first. So we're going to go back in once more. And I'm going to go again here. So although this is a small brush, look at how wide I can go. Look at how big I can get. And then that green is just going to run into that point there. If you make a mistake and you don't like it, so at that point, I don't like that, I'm not doing that because that doesn't work. What you do, you come back to the beginning, you repaint, and then you go over it. And then now I want to put the stem in. So let me just explain this to you. If I draw a stem like this, and let me just get some more paint on my brush because otherwise you're not going to see it well. So if I put the brush down, and you can see that my white is there and my green's there. So if I draw a line, then the white's going down, but the green is covering it up because it's the last one to go through. If I do it the other way, and I put the green down first and the white follows through, it's the white that goes through the green. And you can see the difference in those two shades. So think about what colour we want that stem. I want it green. So I'm going to put the white, so it is what we call leaves, like that, and the green follows through. So let me just do this again for you over here. So I'm just going to white my brush here. So my white is towards this end, my green's towards that end. So I'm going to press that down. That there. Okay, so that gives you those lovely leaves. Now, we are recording it, so if anybody wants to watch it again, and I think we might have to do a longer class because I don't think an hour's long enough for you guys. But I've just got called Mel because she likes long classes. I do too. I just want to show you how we do an ivy leaf, okay? And this is, you can practice this at home, but again, if you need help, let me help you. So remember that V that we had? Keep going back to that. So that was our scallop, wasn't it, to there? But now I'm going to lift it up on the brush and I'm going to come back to here. And then I'm going to turn it round and do another V there. And can you see how we've got that lovely turn just in that middle? I'm going to lift this up so that you can see that. You can see the way I've actually turned. So let me do it this way. So I'm just going to hold this up a little bit. So you come up to here and I'm up on the edge. I press down. I'm going to go right in and fill that black spot, and then turn my brush and just wiggle it until I can meet there. And look at the result I've got. And now, remember what we do. We're going to get some more paint before, oh, that was sticky. I went into an area on the palette and I felt it dragging. So I do need to get some fresh paint and come into a clean area. And then with the white and my little finger supporting me, I'm just going to come down here and put my stem through. And you can see that that's the effect that we've got. I'm just going to let you have a look at that. Right, let me show you what my brush looks like. I'm not going to do anything to it for a second. This is what it looks like when I've just come off the work. So let me show you that on both sides. I need to now blend it again, so I'll push that out. So before I pick up the triangles, I'm just going to smooth that paint down. So that's what it looks like now. Okay, let's pick up a little bit more. So it's still triangles, both sides. There. And I'm going to just stroke that so you can see that's what it looks like. Okay, right. If I get too much white on one side, so let me just make that happen. So if I get too much white on one side, but I've got the right colour on the other side, all that I do is just pick up the green, but I don't just pick it up on this side that's wrong. I pick it up on both sides, because if I don't, the white that's on this side will push through and it will actually spoil that green. So put it on both sides, and then what will happen is you get your green back going over to white and you keep it on the other side. And then if I show you that stroke again, so I'm up on the edge. Remember, I've got that V in my head and a little pivot point. I press down, I wiggle my brush, I come up on the edge, ready to push, turn, and slide. And then turn it over and do the same thing and just let that green glide to meet here. Now, what I'm going to do over the next few months is I'm going to take you to lots of levels, because this is where we start off. But once you've got brush control, it feels so powerful, because in your mind, you can imagine a shape and the brush just does it for you. Amanda and David, how are you both doing? Okay, wow. Whew. Okay, David's just recovered himself. These are fab. Anyone would think you've been practicing. Have you been practicing? Have you practiced?
I practiced about a month ago. I had a few
right.
days, but I've not done that technique where breaking it down with the scallop into the leaf.
These are pretty good. David just admitted to me that he has actually had a go at this at home. Amanda, have you ever had a go? No, Amanda hasn't. Let's take a look at hers. These are her first. Yeah, these are good. These are looking pretty good. Wow. Do you know what's good about this? You can see the contrast from dark to light. That's what we want to be able to control. Okay, so we've been working with this now for about 35 minutes. So what I'm going to get everybody to do, because I am moving this on at a pace. So what I'd like each of you to do is, if you want, please put some comments underneath. I want to know if you want me to go faster or slower, repeat anything, how much repetition you want, because you're going to use the time in between club to actually do the practice work. And if you are watching on YouTube and comment, where do they comment? Oh, you can comment under the YouTube video, and apparently that's easier for us to see. That I don't get. Like, somebody else will work it out. Oh, this chat doesn't stay. Apparently that's what it is. Right, so I've got my brush and I've loaded it again. So, and I just would like to teach you this stroke because this is, people think that wiggle that we're working on is one of the harder ones to do. I disagree a little bit because I think this one is the harder to do, but it's easier when you've learnt the wiggle because you've learnt to bring your brush up onto a point. So when we were working before, we had a V in our head and a point there, didn't we? Well, this time we've got a line there and a line there. So that it's different. The side of the V has just fallen down. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to, instead of wiggling, we're just going to turn that green until it meets that line and then lift up on the edge. So start with that line there. Remember, it's got the other side of the V has dropped down. And we're going to start here and we're going to turn it and slide it to there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to paint left-handed for those lefties out there, just so that you guys can just see. So like this, so on the chisel edge, I press down, I turn that green, and as I'm getting towards the end, I'm lifting it up on the chisel edge. Okay, let's do that again. So I'm going in the opposite direction because that's naturally what you would do. So we're here on the chisel edge, press down, turn the green, not the white, and I'm not turning it in my fingers, it's my arm that's moving. I'm turning it, lifting it up, coming up on that chisel edge. Okay, not perfect, but for a righty to be a lefty, or ambidextrous is the word. Right, I think everybody, I can see that you've got some really nice strokes coming here. So there's another one that we're going to just add into this. So we're going to, here's that stroke where we're coming round and we're just lifting that off. We're then going to repeat that and just slide that in like that and then come through the middle with our leaf. So we've got a lovely, smooth, really round, lovely leaf. Okay, right, it's time to do a wash down and change our paint colours. So into here, we are just going to take the brush, clean it off, and dry this out. And normally I would just wipe off the paint, but I want to see you guys to experience what happens now if we don't dry that brush. Okay, so I'm just squeezing those bristles and I'm going to go on to change my colours and I'm going to work with white and a pink or a purple. So you choose which is your favourite. And actually that white's I've got here, it's probably going to come out easier. Without me trying to spray it all over the room. And I'm just going to put a little bit of fresh white on top of that white I've already got on my palette. And let me choose a purple. I'm going to go with, what have you got, David?
I've got iris, which is a lovely purple, or a deep purple.
I've got plum. Have you got plum?
Yes.
I'm going to work with plum, everybody. So, oh, apparently we've got a technical issue. David and Amanda, aren't talking. Right, everybody, so I'm going to move that out the way and we're now going to come up here. So what we've got, and I just want to say to everyone, what I want to try and do with this painting club is not do too much repetition. So what we're learning now, when we come to the next class, I'm going to just say, remember when we did, and I'll do a quick refresher, but I'm not going to go back over all of it because I want to keep the progression going. So, right, this one. So you'll still hopefully be able to tell, and if you can't, you can probably remember which side the white was on your brush. And if you can't tell at all, well done, because that means you've just cleaned it immaculately. And I'm just going to load this into my brush. So my white and burgundy or plum. Oh, that's a good suggestion. I've just been asked by Debs if you can have a list of colours. Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? That brings me on to something else. We've set up a code for you, and you can see now, look, I didn't dry the brush out. So look at that green water at the top. Yeah, you can see a little bit of it there. That's what happens. That's why we need to take that water out. So I've got a code for you, and it's paint 10. And that means you can get 10% off anything on the Highlight website. And that excludes Brother products, but for painting anyway. But the other thing is, if you're a Robin's Nest member, you get 10% plus 10%. So just wanted to mention that. Okay, so, and if you need help on something that you want to buy, message me, because this isn't about me selling you anything. Right, so now we're going to build this rose, and we're going to start off with the basic shape. And that base is made up of, remember that V with that pivot point? Well, that's the first thing that we're going to do. So I've got the lightest colour at the top of my brush, and I'm just going to paint one of those little scallops. I'll move that up a bit for you. Nice. David's painting nicely. Amanda's doing quite nicely. I would go with the next one. Now, this bit's important. When you paint the next scallop, you would think you would just paint it like there, but that doesn't look as good as if you do this. You're going to paint it there to there. That's where your V is. So you're taking off that little tiny bit of the petal. So remember, we press down and splay out the brushes, and then paint the scallop and then lift it off. Okay, David, you've turned your paint up to that. Right, so what's just happened?
With left-handed, do I swap and work around the other side, or do I go?
No, so at the moment, let me just show everybody what's happened. So this has just gone wrong, not badly, but a little bit. So David transposed the colours, so took the dark to the top and the light to the middle. So here, we just go back over it to do that scallop again. Now, when you come to do this, when you're doing your very first one, I can tell you I did exactly the same thing. I rotated it until I painted my first flower. If you are left-handed, then this is where you'll go. So come here. So again, we overlap the bristles. Whoops. This is always dodgy when I paint left-handed. But do you know what? That's actually still okay. So then we've got another one of those V's. It's in there. So I'm taking off the edge of that petal again. And then you can see there. And it's quite tight, this flower. It's not too big. I've got there is my next V. So again, I'm pressing down and bringing that in like that. And now I've got this quite a large gap. So I've got to decide if I'm going to go with one big stroke or fit squeeze two in. I'm going to go with one big one because I think I can get the best result by doing that. So I'm going to start here and I'm just going to come round in the other direction, but I'm still crossing over the petal and I'm then lifting it up. Okay. The next part of it is easy. So we've got two parallel lines and they're about 1 centimetre apart. Let me move that piece of tissue and that. So I'm just going to let you see this. Two parallel lines and 1 centimetre apart. So if I were to just join them up, it would look like that. But what about if I join them up and I make a little bridge as I go, like that? And then I start in exactly the same spot, and I'm going to finish in exactly the same spot. And I'm going to paint a little U, like that. Yep. Let me do this again. So remember the 2 parallel lines. So 2 parallel lines about 1 centimetre apart. Put your brush on the top of one, and we're going to end up on the top of this one. So we're going to go, and we're just going to push it up a tiny bit and go round. Oh, Sheila's just said, there's a mirror image option on Zoom, so I could paint right-handed and you guys would see it left. Do you know what? I think I'll have to try that one week. So we'll do it for the lefties, and then the righties will have to paint back to front. So then on this one, so remember where we started and where we finished. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to come round to there, okay? And then we're just going to add in one more, just a little bit lower, and it's going to go a bit wider on either side. So this next part is also important because it really does influence what your flower's going to look like. So just waiting for David and Amanda to catch up. So Amanda's covering her work up, but looking good, very good. David's good. Get that second stroke in, guys. And I'm going to repeat that here. And when I'm practicing, this is what I do. I do myself a load of lines. Then I go back and make sure my chisel edge is still together. And I paint one, and then I paint another, until I actually can feel that rhythm. Then, again, I then come back and I paint here. If this happens, and you can see black in the middle, you need to push the brush a little bit higher up. So move it and don't go down so low, okay? If this happens, and you've got fluffy edges there, come into your palette and pull the chisel edge of the bristles together so it's nice and sharp again. And then you get that sharp finish like that. Then this one, so up here, we went like that. We went parallel. We started off parallel, didn't we, to here? So I started there and I started there and I just went a bit lower and did that. On this one, we're going to start there and there. So a bit more like a V. And so we're going to come down and go like that. Okay, so again, so my bud, oops, let me just go over that, is there. And the next part is as if I've got a V there, and it's just like that, and it pulls down like that. And can you see how this is more softly shaped? This one's fatter and not as elegant. So we've got a little bit of lovely shaping going on here. Okay, so it's coming in more detail. So now we're going to go into the middle of this rose and paint this one. And so we have to think about where that center is going to sit. If it goes too high, it's going to look like the bud's not grown nicely. If you go too low, you've got too much flower at the top. If you go straight up, it just looks like it's standing to attention. So if you're left-handed, take it off towards the top right-hand corner. And if you're right-handed, take it towards the left-hand corner. So we're going to put it there. And then turn your work so that you get this bud perfect and do that shape. So I'm just going to come back and do that again because I want to soften the paint. So you can see what happens. If I need to go over it, I can come back and I can do that again. And then the next part of it is I've got that shape there and I'm just going to come round like that. Okay. Right, now there's another stroke that takes a little bit of practice. Andrew, how much time have we got? Okay, so I'm going to show you another stroke, and this is one for you to practice, but we're not going to do it on this flower because I'm going to show you a little trick to finish that off. So first of all, I'm on the corner of the brush, and I'm going to press the bristles down to the side. Now, you know when I said the action comes from your arm, your elbow, and your shoulder. So I'm just going to do this while I want you to see how my shape comes round like that. I can feel this bit of it coming in towards my body. So as I'm doing that, my arm is actually coming in. It's not uncomfortable. It feels comfortable to do it. It's a natural thing to do. So on the edge, press round and just, on the edge, press down and just pull that round. We're doing a comma. And then on the other side, again, press down, turn, and come round. Okay. Okay, so we've got somebody who has just mentioned they're having problems mixing the colour on their brush. What I'd like you to do is, so I'm going to give you my email address for everybody. It's Stephanie, and it's STEPHANIE at highlight, HIGHLIGHT, crafts, CRAFTS.com. So Stephanie at highlightcrafts.com. Just with your phone, take a quick picture of your palette and a quick picture of your brush. I can tell you instantly what's going wrong. And I promise we'll sort it out. And if somebody is going to need a 5-minute phone call, I will make the time to do it because this is a massive passion for me. And, you know, I'm going to be spending my weekends painting. So these lovely commas, let's do them again. So we start with the brush vertical and we press round. We're turning that white and then letting the purple slide and the white follows through. Let's do it again. Press down, then as you turn the white, let the white follow through as the purple, and I'm really exaggerating this, comes off the page like that. So when we then want to do a tighter curve, instead of starting there, I would start here. So there, whoops, let me do it the other way up. There, come round. And you can get tighter curves. And then I can come here and come round, and I can do the same thing. So you can really play with the shape of the brush. Now, I'm running out of paint here, but the whole of the time I've been painting, I've been mixing on one palette. I need to move into another place because this is getting sticky. So let's go here. Triangles of colour. And if your paint is getting really up to the top of your bristles and you can see that you've got the paint all the way up here, then you need to clean that brush down because the paint shouldn't be getting more than 2/3 of the way up. You don't want it up here because that's where it starts to get muddy. Keep it so it goes from light to dark, turn it over from dark to light, and then we come back into here like this, okay? So bring those together like that. And I'm just going to put those commas on. So remember we started off straight and then move it to different angles. So I'm going to start at the edge of that brush stroke, blend and let the white go out and it come round, and I'm following the base of that stroke, and then this one is going to flick round just below it. Okay, but a little cheat. Come into your white, and important, you have to let the brush touch the table or the bottom of the page. So brush right in, touch the page and dot, okay? That are dots. So what do? We dot there, 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 there. And we can put just a few little dots in the middle of our rosebuds. Just another way of getting some dimension into that middle. Right, everybody, we've only got about 2 minutes left, but I said I was going to do a giveaway. So let me paint for the last few minutes. So I'm painting on a curved surface. That doesn't matter. I'm always making sure that I start with a really well-loaded brush. So this paint will go onto pretty much any surface. So I'm letting myself get some big loops and some small ones in here. And now, because I'm working a little bit more quickly, I'm not using my palette to blend my colours. You can see I've still got 2 triangles on there. I'm actually maximising using all the paint, and I'm blending it as I paint. So that's a great thing to do if you're in a hurry. So look, it's not blended, but if I press down, I can make those 2 blend. And then here, just going to go into this, get that real deep colour there. Look at that. And I'm just going to get one lovely big scallop there because it just lends itself perfectly to having that. And this was a charity shop find. So it wasn't, well, let's have a look. We'll have a flower coming off the edge of the rim. It wasn't an expensive one. I think it was £1. Unfortunately for me, David went charity shop hunting last week and did clear out quite a lot of our shops here in Clay Cross and Chesterfield. But I managed to have a good little scout round over the weekend. So I'm just putting that in here. I don't like what's happening there. So I'm checking that brush loading, making sure that I didn't just pick up a bit of dry white or white that wasn't blended. And let's look at that again. Much nicer. I'm happier with that. Right, I've got a big bit of white here. I need to deal with that. I need to do something that's going to make this look more attractive. So let's just put it there like that. Look at how I'm now putting in those little scallops, and they're going in over this bud, but I'm going to come back and go back over that bud. Making sure, now when you're painting on china or terracotta or anything that's slightly glazed, make sure you've got plenty of paint on your brush, because if you haven't, what will happen is you'll find it lifting off the paint underneath, and that can spoil something considerably. So I'm just going to put the bud in there on this one. And remember, we need to fill in these gaps. So let's take this leaf and this flower, and we're going to use the flower to actually fill the petals, to fill the gap. And then I'm going to go back in just there. Just going to get a bit more of that so it's nicely coated, and then come in there. Okay, so I've got a couple of lit flowers. Now, mention not cleaning your brush. So I haven't cleaned this brush. Now, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to get that purple coming through the green. But isn't that lovely? You can see it just there if I just bring that through. So I'm now picking up more green and white. Still not cleaning the brush. I'm just going to come down here and come in just there and let that one follow through. Then we'll put one just here. So now that the pink's starting to come out of the brush, so, you know, we've used up a lot of it. starting to get much lighter. So you can see how I've gone very tonal here. If I wanted to bring in a bit more shading at the top, you can pick up a tiny bit of the plum, which is what I've just done, so that I've now got it back in there. And again, it's tonal. And I'm just going to put in, again, another one of those little leaves, checking what it looks like, where I need to put the next one. And it looks like I've got a gap here. So this one's going to go into this gap, and we'll take that little bit of dimension. Then we're going to do those little flat ones. Let's put a couple of those just there. And we'll link all the flowers together at the top by putting one just there. So that goes over that one. We can put another one there, and we'll put two of them there. And there is our plant pot. So there you can see that we've just done. And it's only taken literally a couple of minutes. So you can see that once you've mastered this part of it, it really is so, so enjoyable. Now, I don't know how many comments there are, so I'm actually, oh my gosh, I just smudged it. Apparently there's quite a lot, so I'm going to say comment number, 51. Is there that many comments? Right, apparently there is that many comments. I'm just going to do a quick repair while we're checking who it is going to be our winner. Oh, Andrew's just doing a quick count. Well, just, oh my gosh, if there isn't enough comments. Right. I've done it again. Sasha, you are the winner of this pot with the smudge, but I'll get the smudge off. I'll just have to use a little bit of brush cleaner to get that off, and I'll make sure it's pristine when it comes to you. But congratulations, that's on its way to you. Can I just say, Katrina, I love your parrot. It's the cutest thing. I feel like I need one. And everybody who's been watching, a massive thank you. So next time, we're going to expand on these roses, and we're going to take them to the next level. And we're going to load our brush with 3 colours. Then, the class afterwards, we're going to do cute critters. And then we're probably going to do a little bit of Christmas, because we need plenty of time to practice and do all of our hand-painted Christmas cards. So from me, a huge thank you, everybody. It's been amazing. David and Amanda, thank you. Let's just have a little look.
Thank you very much.
And see. Quite good. Oh my gosh. So, looks like next month I'm having a holiday and these guys are taking class. No, seriously, well done. Pretty impressed. So send me any pictures, anything I can help you with. You have been absolute dreams. And don't forget, paint 10, and good night and God bless everybody. See you all soon.